Hello and welcome to Ad Age Studio 30 Live. I'm John Dioso, the editor of Ad Age Studio 30. The topic of today's discussion is how to leverage the power of personalized offers at scale. Now, the past few years have seen enormous changes and disruptions to the health sector, technology, and marketing, and some combination of all of the above. Joining me today to share their insights and best practices on how marketers can turn this turbulent mix into winning strategies are Robin Wheeler, the Chief Revenue Officer at Fetch, and Christy Geary, the Vice President of North America Omni Marketing at Bayer Consumer Health. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So good to have you today. And also, audience members, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions for Robin or Christy, please post them on our social media feeds. If we have time at the end, we'll address them. If not, we'll make sure that we get them to you, and we'll get your responses as soon as possible. Also, my favorite part, please let us know where you're tuning in from so we give you a shout out midway through the show. All right, first, so before we get started and dive a little bit deeper into the conversation, the topic at hand, Christy, can you just give us like I said in the intro, so much has happened over the past few years in the healthcare industry. Can you just give us a state of healthcare and maybe a state of the healthcare marketing industry and then how it relates to Bayer?
Sure. Very happy to do so. Although I will tell you in a very quick response, it's not going to do it justice. So you said it pretty well.
You have 20 seconds. So
just 20 seconds. I'll hit it.
No, take your time.
So you said it earlier from a turbulent standpoint, right? Between COVID essentially causing all of us to rethink access and digital solutions and how we need to seek out education and frankly products, because it was not all that easy initially. Everyone started embracing very different models, opportunities that ranges from retailers to brands to technology to partners like Fetch. Everyone was trying to figure out different ways to make this health access possible. And in this case, they have. And they've created an entirely evolved and very different path to purchase, which is pretty exciting, but also makes the rest of us work a little harder to figure out how to navigate in a way that makes sense for everyone.
That's great. And, and obviously, we'd love to hear a little bit more about how you actually were able to leverage that for successful campaigns, what the takeaways were over the past couple of years for Bayer Consumer Health. We'll get into that in a bit. But first, Robin, for people who don't know what Fetch is, can you just give us the quick elevator pitch?
I sure can. And if you don't know what Fetch is, I encourage you to download it today because we are, I wish I had my referral code. I would throw it. Actually, I'll put it on my LinkedIn because I get extra points for everyone I refer. But we're a consumer engagement platform that essentially rewards consumers. We have 6 million consumers that come daily for every single purchase that they make. So they're uploading 11 million receipts a day. They take a picture of the receipt, scan it, and instantaneously they receive points that they can then go and redeem for gift cards for things like Amazon, Sephora, like my kids love to do, etc. So essentially creating a daily habit for our consumers to come in, find out what offers exist, and then get rewarded for everyday purchases that they're making.
Great. And again, similar to what we said with Christy, I really want to get into what were the learnings and the takeaways, especially how consumer behavior and obviously engagement changed over the past couple of years and where it's heading now with new technology, et cetera. Yeah. But first, let's talk, speaking of consumer engagement, let's talk a little bit about how has it evolved, given these rapid changes to technology and shopper behavior. So Robin, why don't we start with you and then we can go to Christy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christy alluded to this in the beginning as well. Technology has certainly changed the way shoppers are behaving, but we can't ignore the fact that COVID had a massive impact on the way consumers are shopping, getting information, buying. I think I saw a stat recently that online sales, retail sales are expected to be like over 1.1 trillion this year, which is almost half, like 42% of the retail sales growth. So we're seeing that continue to spike. It's certainly slowed down after COVID, but it's still on the rise. So being able to shop and buy from any different channel, the consumers have really come to expect that we meet them where they are, right? And they kind of have the upper hand, which they always have, but in terms of where they're making their purchases, they're also a lot more picky about personalization. So they expect us as retailers and manufacturers to be able to customize and make that experience relevant to them wherever it is that they are showing up.
So Christy, please weigh in on that a little bit. And we talked of, personalization is a huge part of it. And at the end of the day, what all those all those marketing strategies and initiatives are for are really to, like,
What do they mean? Why do we try to do all those things we do?
oh, exactly. So tell us a little bit about what you found at Bayer.
Yeah, I would agree with Robin. I think what's been so interesting is I don't think the why has evolved as much. I think people are still trying to find the right products for themselves and their family, to do it with the best possible savings, to find the education and the access and all of those things that they're looking for. I think what has changed and what continues to change, and certainly driven by technology, is the when, the where, the what, the why, the how. The how for me is where this gets really exciting. And that's the part that Robin was really alluding to, which is this point around personalization. And that's just one aspect of an experience that shoppers and consumers have set really high expectations around. So technology has enabled us to get to them faster almost everywhere. Now it's the job of the brands and everyone else playing a role in that ecosystem to show up in a way that makes a difference. And that means you have to drive personalization. It means you have to embrace this idea of socialization and gamification and figure out how you differentiate yourself in a way that enables you to stand out in a crowd and, frankly, a sea of offerings. So it's definitely an evolution due to the technology. I also think the shoppers, as Robin said, have now, they believe it is now their right, and frankly it is, to find things at any moment at the drop of a hat and exactly what they want and make it look like exactly what they expected it to look like.
I love that. I love what you said about faster too, Christy. I think they really are expecting it. And it has to happen like where they are. So if they're somewhere social, or if they're, on Fetch, or if they're anywhere, if they're on Bayer's owned and operated, they're expecting it to really speak to them. And as we think about what is the real metric today, is attention. How do you get people's attention? We have so many things coming at us at any given time. And the way that you get through there fast and effectively is by making sure that it has impact and it's personalized. So the only other thing I would add is just the state of the economy today. And there's so much pressure on the consumer. I know you asked about tech, the influence of tech, but there's certainly the influence of the economy and like the pressure on the consumer's wallet for us to just make things even more worthwhile for them. Just given the fact that inflation's high and then consumer spending, they're starting to pull back a lot more. So,
and thank you. And Christy mentioned consumer rights, right? And the flip side of personalization, which we're all aiming for as marketers, is privacy. And there's not a more tightly regulated market than healthcare right now. So I mean, that is the flip side of this, right? Because the customers demand more personalization, and that's a way to, one, hook them in, but also maintain that brand loyalty. How do you, as a healthcare brand, how do you manage to deal with those, the bumps in the road there that come along with the privacy regulations?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the most interesting thing about privacy, and I would be remiss if I didn't make sure that from a Bayer perspective, we take privacy incredibly seriously. We ensure that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that any sort of opt-in opportunity is securing, is making sure that we're driving awareness and education to how that data will be used in any way, shape, or form. So for us, the privacy is tantamount to making sure that we are respecting the rights of those individuals, while also, to your point, leaning in and finding very creative ways to start to show up so that we can meet their needs in other aspects. One of the ways that we're starting to do that is, frankly, in partnerships like Fetch. It's where they have that second party data and that beautiful understanding of shopper behavior. And more importantly, they get to do it beyond traditional food, drug, mass retailers, because they're looking across this total ecosystem around where people are going to gas stations and every other component. And they're looking at it with adjacent categories and affinities. So those types of partnerships with data, plus we have an absolutely outstanding in-house data science and also in-house media team. They are constantly figuring out new and creative ways to leverage all sorts of information we have coming in. So I will tell you, yes, is the flip side of personalization and the privacy, the challenge, that lovely little balancing act that we get from a seesaw. It is, I think, as much as an individual, I appreciate the privacy, I appreciate the challenge, because it causes all of us to be more creative in how we solve.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about some of those. I want to talk a little bit. I want to get to actually the partnership between the two of you and how you work together, how Fetch and Bayer work together. But I want to talk, you mentioned the different ways and the different strategies. And, omnichannel has been such a buzzword for such a long time. I really want to ask you, so when you mention these different types of strategies and the type of data that you're able to use by working with people like Fetch, how, talk to us how you were able to implement that and how that, you had, you're not going to trump it. I'm going to say you had a really great year. Like a lot of people, you had a really great 2022. Robin brought up 2023. Hopefully you're doing as well. It's been a tough economy. We could talk about that as well. But talk about how some of those, the on-the-channel approach and maybe a couple of strategies. And please, Robin, you can weigh in as well.
Do you want me to go ahead and go first?
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
I'll jump in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Omni is such an interesting beast, right? So in the last year, we had a movie that showed up that said everything everywhere all at once. And I have never seen a better description of my own job title. And that's become the kind of rally cry, if you will. And that is what's causing this insane amount of expectation, because it is commerce everywhere. It is now a reality. If you cannot figure out how to translate and drive activation of commerce at all of the touch points that you are showing up, and frankly, identify and enable in multiple incremental touch points, this has become the game, right? You have to play the game and you have to do it well. Frankly, if you want to win, you have to do it better than everyone else. The other part that I think has become so fascinating about Omni is most of our companies, and I'll speak from a brand perspective, having experience at a couple different places, everyone is brought up to really deliver on their area of the business. It creates an awful lot of silos and an awful lot of areas where they don't always talk to each other and create an integrated solution that's going to lead us to that consistency and cohesion that our shoppers absolutely need to make the best possible decisions. So an omni-channel approach means that all of us are figuring out how to rally the troops across every single aspect of our organization and integrate those in a way that starts to create that seamless kind of frictionless experience. So while we talk about seamless and frictionless for our shoppers on the flip side, as it relates to Omni, most of the work is actually happening internally to make sure that we get all the right people in the room and we solve in the most effective way.
Robin, I'll get your perspective on that, particularly coming from Fetch as an app and the way that it works. And you must be getting information and a lot of signals from so many different places.
Yep. I love what Christy said. Thanks for the shout out on the value that we bring. And I will say Bayer is one of our best in class partners for how they leverage the data that we can provide to not only use it really well on our own platform, but how you use it internally at Bayer. So we think about Omni at Fetch as like an Omni view of the consumer. So I mentioned, every consumer is coming to the platform daily and they're uploading receipts. They're uploading receipts from everything from a Target to a CVS to a McDonald's, right? So we are able to get a full 360 picture of what that consumer is doing, not just at one retailer, but at all retailers. And so back to Christy's point, how can we be helpful within the organization at Bayer or others, is that we can help use that information and leverage, what is the propensity of somebody to be a Bayer buyer based on what we're seeing them do it. Maybe we think McDonald's customers, people that are frequently McDonald's, are actually more likely to be purchasers of Aleve. I'm making this up. But we can leverage that data to help be a lot smarter with how we approach their campaigns. But we can also help bring together the folks inside of Bayer, because we can say, hey, we saw XYZ happen at Walmart, to the Walmart team within Bayer's walls to help them understand, priorities and be better partners to Walmart as well. So it really helps to give that full view of the consumer that is hard to find in other places.
Agreed.
Boy, time is just flying by. If you're just joining us, this is Ad Age Studio 30 Live, and we're talking about how to leverage the power of personalized offers at scale with Robin Wheeler from Fetch and Christy Geary from Bayer Consumer Health. Let's get back to the questions. Oh, we have some shout outs first before we do that. I want to thank Stephanie Markin. Oh boy. Stephanie Markinadonat. Jeez. I'm sorry. From Illinois. Markinadonat. I did it. I apologize for missing. Hi, Stephanie. I apologize so much for mispronouncing your name, for butchering your name, but thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's get back to the questions. So Christy, tell me about, so you head up the Omni marketing team at Bayer Consumer Health. Tell me about how the team is developed and and we can talk a little bit about partnering with Fetch.
Absolutely. So this is one of my absolute favorite topics right now. I could not adore my team more. I have such an outstanding team that ranges all the way from people who are working on the brand side to the sales side, and frankly, subject matter experts across the board. And it's been an absolute privilege for me to be able to come in and leverage their expertise and experiences and really define where we want to take omni marketing for Bayer Consumer Health. And for us at a very high level, because we can't get into the details today, but obviously this is a topic near and dear to my heart. At a very high level, our job is about ensuring that we are driving elevated experiences along that path to purchase. And for us, the big focus, obviously, as shareholders, we're also trying to move those experiences towards not just awareness and engagement, as Robin was saying, but frankly, conversion. That's the job. The job is making sure that we enable that conversion to come through. So we are doing all sorts of things, from driving next-gen value engagement to thinking about retailer media to thinking about shopper marketing and trying to pull all of these components into a space that works. And again, it would take way too long to talk through all the pieces that we're driving at the moment. So that's enough of a flavor. From a Fetch perspective, it's been really exciting. Frankly, we've been partnering with Fetch since the beginning, which was really wonderful for us because we leaned in based on their more modern kind of personalized approach, associating what they were doing in promotions. Promotions have typically become very traditional, and they've been the same for a very long time. It's really nice when you start to see an emerging space and engagement model that allows us to try and break through that clutter a little bit more. And that's everything to do with Omni, because on top of all those other pieces I mentioned, it really is about ensuring that we're thinking about the future and we're creating a glide path to get there faster than everyone else.
Robin, can you talk a little bit about measurement? Like, how do you measure, what metrics are used to assess the impact on, I'm sorry. Yes, that's okay.
Because I was actually going to jump in on that with what Christy was saying as well. Fetch, essentially the core of our platform is that we give our consumers special offers. So we see these folks coming, they'll spend 2 minutes on average every time they come to the app. So they're looking in there, they're looking, what are the offers that I'm seeing today? And how do I build my shopping list based on what I'm going to get rewarded for? They're discovering new brands. They're discovering, whatever retailers might be encouraging them to buy specific products at a specific retailer. And then once they go and make those purchases and upload the receipts, they can upload them, like I said, by scanning them or doing we have e-receipt integrations as well. So by integrating with Amazon and things like your email, they'll get rewarded. And so what this means it's great for the consumers because literally they're coming to the platform to find out what to purchase. So the intent is there. That's the mindset. That's why they're coming, right? But it's great for our partners like Bayer and others because we are able to do a very rigorous, what we call RCT, randomized control trials, where we have a test and control group for every single cohort that we are targeting. So for example, they'll target our buyers, our non-buyers, and then potentially a lapsed buyer. So each one of those cohorts, we have a test group, and then we have a control group that is held back from seeing any of the offers. And this is why we're able to control for any external factors. So if there's some big, Amazon Prime push that's happening, it controls for that. And then after the campaign's over, so it's from that same cohort, right? Either buyers or non-buyers or lapsed buyers. Some will see the offer, some won't. And then we measure the lift accordingly. So we can see all kinds of things, incremental buyers, incremental sales. And then we give a metric called verified incremental return, which was recently validated by KPMG. And what I will also just add is that that's our metric, right? It's our proprietary metric, but a lot of our partners then take that data and we'll go back on their ends and do rigorous measurement to find out profitability analyses, or sometimes they'll integrate that into their MMM models. But we want to make sure that everything that we bring to our partners has a business outcome. And that's why I love working at Fetch, because I can sit here and tell Christy, hey, we believe we were able to drive X% value for you across these brands. So that's how we do it.
Well, like I said, time is flying by. We have time for one more question. But before we get that one quickly, I'd love you both to just kind of weigh in on, was there any from this partnership and working with, Bayer working with the Fetch platform, was there any type of, what would be the one takeaway? Like what would be the one thing that you would note from the past year or so that, successful marketing campaign or learn more, or maybe more accurately, what insight led to that success that you were able to get by working together? Christy, do you have anything?
Go ahead, Christy.
Or Robin,
No,
go ahead.
Robin was ready. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say one, right? I think what we've
Give me 10. No.
Well, I think the high level is that the more specific insights that we can glean about who the customer is, the more powerful the results we're going to see. So being able to really look at purchase behavior, right? I came from a social network where we were looking at more intent-based signals, right? Liking things, favoriting things, et cetera. Here, it's really purchase-based. And it's hard to lie through your purchases, right? Consumers say they like something. They like certain things on certain social channels. That doesn't mean they're going to go buy it, right? But purchase behavior is purchase behavior. And so being able to leverage signals that we see there at a pretty as precise as possible way has been helpful in driving the most amount of value over time for Bayer. And that's aside from just having joyful people to work with that are kind and like fun and, hold us accountable and push us, but make us better. So I would say those would be the two things.
And I would echo those tremendously. So I'm also going to veer well off of your just give one, because I think it's limiting in terms of what's possible on this one. So in this case, the partnership is a big part of it. Having a strategic thought leadership relationship with one of your key vendors is what really, truly allows us to think about what is possible. So for me, the partnership plays a really big piece. The second part for me, and I cannot stress this one enough. Promotions have been boring. So moving into a space where promotions allow us to engage slightly differently and to do it with brands and other areas that we haven't done before, that's become a really exciting place to learn. And to Robin's point earlier around making sure that we're pulling that data in, that's really driving it. But I will tell you, going forward, the one area that we really do have work to do, and we talked about challenging each other, and we do that very well. But the area that we really have to start driving now is we have to help all of our brands better understand the possibilities associated with the roles of all the different tools in their toolbox. And that means they need to get really, really clear on what are they trying to achieve and what are the best things that we can include and put as part of an actual approach that will get them there. And that's the work to be done.
And I love what you said about like the strategic partnership, Christy, because it's true. I mean, we want to be at the table with you, like knowing exactly, hey, this is what the brand's challenges are. This is the consumer inside and out. This is our seasonality. And these are the ways that we want to, elevate the brand and amplify the brand over time. And like, what's the role that you play within that? That's when the best work happens, is when we can get to that point. So exactly aligned.
Did you cut out? Did you hear Robin there for a second, Christy? I thought for me it cut out.
I heard Robin.
All right, as long as the audience heard it.
Hopefully everyone else heard Robin, but I'm
good.
good.
Talking to ourselves, Christy. That's okay.
My producers have said you've been heard. Okay, final question. So let's give the audience a little takeaway. What advice would you give marketers looking to pursue accurate attribution and to capture their target audience's attention? Why don't you go first, Christy?
So accurate attribution on this one, right? So the biggest thing for me has always been making sure that you first truly understand what you're trying to achieve, followed by doing your homework. Make sure that you use that insight and the data that you already have on hand or that you need to seek out to make sure that you're pointing your ship in the right direction. The last one, and this is something that I think companies sometimes get a little uncomfortable with, because frankly, you do have people who are asking you to meet your shareholder goals, is you really have to be okay with testing and learning and iteratively understanding how you optimize that very quickly. So real-time optimization, real-time iteration of that learning so that you can get better and faster and smarter along the way. That's going to be what sets us apart.
Robin?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think, in this ad tech ecosystem and post-privacy world, the deprecation of cookies, all of these things get harder, but I think also have the ability to kind of reset. But in this world, first-party data, we call our data zero party data, because it's literally consumers, handing it over to us. It's more important than ever to leverage partners where you can there and to build up internal data that you have, whether it's your first party or whether it's third party from other partners, just so that you can get to a way that's super personalized. And that all kind of ties into attribution and measurement, taking that one step further to be able to really close the loop, and then working with partners that can help you do that is absolutely critical, especially as we look at, performance dollars are more important than ever today, just given budgets getting pulled back and pricing sensitivities. So making sure that you're partnering with folks that can help you really close the loop is going to be critical.
So,
All right.
Robin,
go ahead, Chrissy.
sorry, John, I was just going to
No,
say,
go ahead.
Robin, what I just heard you say on that one is that data is all kinds of parties and that everyone should get invited so we can all be part of Omni, right?
Yes, that's right. I love that. Yes. That's all party.
Let's all party. There's the ultimate takeaway. And, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you for attending at H Studio 30 Live. On behalf of our guest, Robin Wheeler from Fetch and Christy Geary from Bayer Consumer Health. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to recharge these AirPods so I can hear everything. I'm John Dioso at H Studio 30 Live. See you next time.